They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Don't need that cottage promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed, disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of own nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Welcome back to Rogue Ways. Happy New Year. It is now 2021. I know everyone's like, did we already do a New Year show? I don't remember. I haven't been keeping track of things very well. I think this is my first show of the new year. So yeah, Happy New Year. Everybody's like, you know, so glad 2020 is over and so glad that 2021 has all of this potential. And I don't disagree with those sentiments, but I also always remember, like, the number changing doesn't actually change our trajectory or like what we're all doing or what's happening in the world. So it could be all kinds of things. Well, I always have hope. I'm always optimistic. And I just always think it's weird to expect a number, you know, rollover to like change anything meaningfully. But I'm going to do a New Year's resolution, which I don't normally do. And that is on Monday, tomorrow or Tuesday. I think Tuesday, actually, I'm going to start a 10-day bone broth fast cleanse, I guess you could call it. Supposed to be super good, just kind of a little reset, and then, you know, kick yourself off of sugar and caffeine and whatever else you might be addicted to, and get a bunch of collagen and just like nutrient rich, dense stuff. So I'm super excited about that. That's my New Year's resolution. Thinking I'm going to do a little bit of AIP, that's autoimmune protocol, which I do for my Hashimoto's, and which works really well for any autoimmune. If you have any sort of autoimmune issues, then you might want to try that AIP diet. The autoimmune protocol keto. Autoimmune protocol is already very close to keto, kind of. It's just very low carb by default. It's not attempting to be, but a lot of the things you can't eat are very carby, and so it's a lot less carbs than normal. So it's already very close to keto, and I think I'm just going to try a little bit of keto and see if I can pull it off when I'm, you know, doing it, I don't know, with AIP. We'll see. That's my thing. What's up to Jeff Green in the chat? I am Lone Frog in the chat. Low Country checking in. And it's good to see you guys. I know there's more people out there who haven't said hi yet. Come say hi when you're ready. We love to hear from you. I'm super excited to do a giveaway right now. I had offered up this beautiful orgone plaque. It's one of the few orgone plaques that I have made that is kind of see-through. See how you can see my hand through it? The white paper, I always use like a handmade, you know, fibery kind of organic fun paper as one of the layers of the orgone. Orgone, if you don't know, is one layer biological, one layer non-biological. So like, you know, paper is biological, and then like metal or crystals and stuff could be one layer. So this paper was white, and when you put it in, it just is clear. It's super cool, and it has all these fibers that you can still see in the background. It's really neat. And it was cool because this came from a commission that my aunt actually had me create an orgone piece for her specifically, and she wanted it to have some certain sort of intentions in it and whatnot. And so it ended up being this tricolor red, white, and black see-through sort of thing. It was just very unique. And so I had a few other pieces from that batch, and I wanted to offer one up because I just feel like, you know, every sort of little bit that I get, I should be giving like a portion of it back to this community or a community that in need or just something like that. And so I wanted to do that for having sold a certain number of orgone pieces. I wanted to give one away. So the deal was, if you just shared the show link or rogue.locals.com link or a certain episode link on any of your social medias, and you just showed me that you did it, then you were entered to win. So I'm going to do the giveaway right now. But I do want to say one thing really quick. The red, white, and black, like I said, that was kind of a almost an accident. It just went well with the energies. It ended up being this really profound meaning and energy that is now infused into this orgone, which is so cool because if you don't know, when we're born, we can only see 3 colors, and they're white, black, and red. And we stay that way for a little while. And so babies will really respond to people who are wearing red, black, or white, or especially if you're wearing all 3. They're like, whoa. And they really like that because they can't see anything else. Everything else is just in white, black, or red. You know, it's like kind of monotone with warmth in it from time to time. And so they like it a lot. And so that's interesting, right? We're born with this. This is sort of primal. And so that in itself is cool, but also it's red roses and white roses. And then it's also red, white, and black crystals. And so each of them has, the quartz is the sort of white or clear energy, and that keeps us sort of moving towards our spiritual potential, and moving along our progression. There's rose quartz for the red, and that keeps us connected to the deepest, purest, unconditional love, which you would probably most likely associate with whatever your conception of God is. And then the black tourmaline is really good at deflecting and absorbing and getting rid of any negative energy around. So it also addresses our 3 main sort of needs in life, which is to be safe and protected from darkness, to be loved, and to be kept, pure and moving forward on our path. So that was really cool too. It's like the prime colors that we start out seeing. And then also the prime sort of needs that we have are addressed. So I really loved these, this set, these colors, and these materials that went into this orgone. And there's more of this same set available. In fact, I have one here. It's much smaller. These are orgone plaques, I call them. So you can attach like a hanger sort of to the back, or I can for you for an extra fee. And you can hang it on a wall, but I just put mine in a window. It's cool if you can hang them from those suction things in the window and the light can come through. They're rad even when it's something more dense. Here's another orgone plaque that's pretty trippy. You can't necessarily see all of the crystal and metal pieces and flowers that make up all the layers of this one, unless you're looking in real life and pretty close. But I just love the swirly sort of trippy colors of this one as well. So each batch I do is completely different. Here's a sort of copper instead of silver, but the same batch. Otherwise, that one I just showed you. And I still have some from what I called the rose line that had yellow and pink rose petals as the centerpiece of some of these. So these are a little bit bigger, right? This one you can see is almost the size of my face. So they're meant to be sort of displayed as art, whereas the pendants I sell are earrings and, you wear them on necklaces and stuff. They're a little bit smaller and more discreet. So it just kind of depends on what you want around. These are nice to have in just a room that you're going to meditate in, or just to have around your house. So those are available on the site. If you want, rogueways.org, go check them out in the shop. But I'm going to pull the name for the winner of this plaque. I'm very excited for that. So I'm going to do that right now. Yeah, all of these look pretty cool in the window because even when they're a little bit more opaque, the light still comes through in a neat way. So they all have different properties, different crystals, different layers, different paper, different metals, and different meanings. And I try to tell the story of them and share the sort of energies of them when I can. And I just pulled the name. Courtney! Courtney won! That's so exciting. I'm so happy for you, Courtney. So, Courtney, I will be sending this out to you. I believe I have your address already. If not, I'll get in touch with you to get that. So, congratulations to Courtney for winning the biggest orgone piece that I make, actually. So, that's cool. So, I'll try to send that out on Wednesday. Hopefully, this isn't really loud, too. I just remembered I turned my gain up for the New Year's Eve show with Idiocalypse, and I don't think I turned it back down. So, hopefully, the volume is okay. Let's see who else is here. We have My Mouth Shall Speak the Truth is in the house. What's up? The Idiocalypse is here. I just mentioned you. How weird. Nice to see you. Libra Laura is here. What's up, Libra Laura? Been seeing you in the comments a lot. It's nice to see you here. Stephanie Martin's here. What's up, Stephanie? Lacey Mariposa is here. What's up, Lacey? Thank you. She said, gorgeous orgone. Gordon Hamill's in the house. Nice to see you again, Gordon. AstroSync is here as well. Yes, and we are going to get into the emasculation of men in our society. And Lacey is saying how gross and sad it is and how under-acknowledged it is. And that's exactly how I feel. And that's part of what brought this up. I never really know what brings things up, but this was what's been ruminating in my mind for the past few days. So I decided we can all talk about it together. And there's a few other things sprinkled in here that I just wanted to bring back into our attention too as things are moving forward in our society. Regan Rumple's in the house. What's up, Regan? Nice to see you. Courtney wins. Woo! All right, thank you very much. I'm glad you guys, if you want Orgone, go to the shop, check it out. If you already are in contact with me in some way, let's do it person to person. It's better for both of us. And otherwise, you can purchase it from the shop. So I think we'll just jump in now. We'll just jump right in. I always like to show you the site, rogueways.org, also known as CoreySharman.com. Same site, 2 addresses. Always so much here. I just wrote this piece of opera and doves recently. It's something that I've been writing for literally 2.5 years, I think. I just come and go from pieces until they're done, and this just got finished the other day. So it's a collection of ideas I've had over the past few years. It's very interesting and prosy. And there's all kinds of pieces like that all throughout the site. There's all kinds of links to all the things that I do. But in the shop is where you can grab whatever Orgone you might need or want, whatever rogue gear you want. If you want the logo on sweatshirts and other things, that's there. My books you can order directly from me instead of Amazon, and then it comes with my inscription. Those are $20 a piece. And that, I believe, includes shipping. I'm pretty sure that's true. So it's way cheaper than you can get it on Amazon anyway. And you get the inscription. And you can also buy my original collage piece, Luna's Lullaby, on a canvas if you would like as well. It's really a beautiful piece, if I do say so myself. And the first time I've shared one of my collages as something that other people can get for themselves. But back in the shop, I also want to show you where you can get the Orgone. It's pretty easy once you get to the shop. Oh man, that wasn't the back button. It's the only one called Orgonite. If you want to grab a reading or a class, I teach all kinds of spiritual principles and tarot principles and just various things, or a guidance session one-on-one, you can get that in the classes and tarot section. But over in the Orgonite section is where you can find pendants, earrings, and plaques. They're always labeled if they're a plaque or a pendant or earring, so you can get an idea of the sort of size. I also almost always include the dimensions once you click on it and read about it. This Heather and the Reeds one is one of my favorites. It's right above my head here. But there's all kinds of pieces left. I also have some that I just haven't gotten up on the site yet, so we can always talk about that too if you want to do that. So that's the site. Go check it out. There's also rogue.locals.com, which is the community where we can all share and interact without censorship, which is the best. I really love all of the people who are there supporting Rogue Ways, but also supporting us as a community, which is nice. It's nice that we get to connect and like I said, be without censorship. Locals is the only place so far I know where people can go in good numbers and actually be a part of what they want to be a part of, and that they have not censored anyone for any reason so far. And I am very hopeful that they will continue to do that. So go to rogue.locals.com and come join us. And let's get into it. First, I wanted to jump into some stuff about the vaccine and, you know, the really, really intense cold that's been going around, infecting people's minds and making them fucking lose their ability to think and reason. So let's just check that out. I want to say what's up to Pisces in the chat. I don't know Chris Watts' case. Pisces says the Chris Watts case got me real interested in this subject of emasculation. And I have no idea what that is, so you'll have to tell me more, please. But yeah, I was on Facebook and somebody mentioned, I said something, I don't remember why, but they said Moderna literally means modify the RNA. And I was like, whoa, as you can see, my mind was blown because I love breaking down words into their parts and their components and trying to decode stuff. And I just had not even, I was just thinking modern, right? Just modern Moderna. But it is interesting if you break it in, it's mode and RNA. Mode, modify the RNA. So that's pretty fucking creepy. And then someone below that pointed out that, I can't highlight this because it's just an image, but mode RNA means telling the RNA what to do, and Moderna came out of nowhere. The Canadian government gave them $1 billion for a vaccine. Moderna has never brought a product to market before. And all of a sudden, all the vax makers are trying to do this. You can't make this stuff up. It just struck me, you know, it's just that little conversation was enough to like turn the light bulb on and be like, yeah, I mean, I already have been talking about, as you know, the RNA and the messenger RNA, and the only real purpose of that could be to modify our DNA and whatnot, but I just had not put it together. Like, they always are telling us exactly what they're going to do and exactly, ahead of time how it's going to go, what it all means. And here they've been telling us through Moderna this whole time, and it was just, took someone to break it down for me to see it. So I wanted to share that with you guys. I also wanted to remind you of that patent, coming from Gates, 020200600606. So 22666. I wonder if that means that it'll be 2022 when this gets implanted in us. I don't know. Numbers and whatever, it all has meaning for them, So this patent was on the international patent, whatever. I don't know. I can throw you this link if you want to check it out for yourself. If you haven't seen it for some reason, I think you probably have. But I just wanted to remind us that the mark of the beast has been found, and it is in this patent by Bill Gates. Of course, people always point out, sometimes they do stuff because they want to scare us and want us to think like, that it's all lining up in prophetic ways and whatever. But it's just interesting that this also happens to be about not just cryptocurrency, which we know they're trying to go to in the Great Reset, but also using our bodies and like our literal energy and movement and like thoughts, all the things that go on in our bodies as energy to power cryptocurrency mining. Because if you know anything about cryptocurrency, it takes mining in order for it to become valuable and for people to gather value from it. And so we would all literally be like enslaved by the system. And the Matrix, that was the whole concept of the Matrix, was that you are, as a human, the energy source for this thing to feed off of. Well, this is really no different, except, you're not living in like a bubble pod with like a fucking shit down your throat and like plugged in, but you are plugged in because for this to work, you have to have an implant. And they suggest in here that it be connected to your brain, connected to your heart, connected to all these different parts of your body to gather all this data all the time, and obviously send it out through Wi-Fi and whatnot to keep it powered and whatever. It's fucked up. We don't even need to go to all of the fucking bits about it for it to see like how fucked up it is. And yes, I get that they also make patents for things that they dream up in case it becomes reality, so that they'll be the one with a patent. Sure. So there's a lot of patents that never come to fruition, and hopefully this is one of them. But there was just this little write-up on it on, what is this, Crypto Tapas? And this is from 8 months ago, which is a little bit after we covered it here, I think, a couple months later. But, pretty early on and kind of mainstreamy as far as things go. Like, I don't think a lot of people know this exists, and here's this somewhat mainstream source talking about it. I say mainstream in that they have like a traditional sort of site, and it's not like covered in your sort of like 90s computer fucking sites from like web crawler days or whatever. Anyway, they point out this cryptocurrency is based on human bodily activity. And here's a direct quote from the patent language itself. And they've highlighted the creepiest part, which is that the cryptocurrency system communicatively coupled to the device of the user may verify if the body activity data satisfies one or more conditions set by the cryptocurrency system and award cryptocurrency to the user whose body activity data is verified. So not only do you have to have an implant, but it also has to have an external device, I'm guessing like our phones or whatever. And you can imagine how this is tied into social credit and how you can't even have your implant unless you're cool enough or something. Like, there's just all sorts of fucked up directions this is going. And yeah, they talk about brainwaves, body heat. Like I said, every aspect of your body is tied into this patent. They want to use all of it for crypto mining. And I just always wonder too, like, what's to stop them from then using part of that energy for their own mining? Or, who's to say it would ever be fair, basically? Even if you liked this idea and you were like, fuck yeah, I want to mine cryptocurrency with my brainwaves. Like, what's to stop anybody from just skimming off of that constantly? How would you ever know what's actually going on? So not only do I not want an implant, or to have my social credit and actual credit like tied up with this shit. I just would never trust that it would be done fairly anyway. Even should we want it, it would be horrible. So that's my little update on the sort of COVID, like, you know, bullshit things and the ways that society seems to want to head. I just looked up and I saw Serena Del Mar. What's up, Serena? Saying, please kill me. I totally feel that. I was just talking earlier with Johnny about it. And we were like, you know, like, kind of fucking just like have to laugh at everything all the time or else you go completely insane. And like, we were talking about how like no matter who becomes president or no matter who like fucking implants shit into people's heads or whatever cryptocurrencies are rolled out or social credit or whatever, it will always be as hilarious and as disappointing. So we can all just be united in that. That wasn't very helpful, was it? Israel Adams is in the house. What's up? UI Guy 71's in the house. Hi. Israel Adams says, I think Canada's national leaders should get death by 1,000 vaccines. Yeah. So much death penalty should be given out to many of our so-called leaders. Bros is in the house. I'm gonna go ahead and decline the mark of the beast, he said. Or she. Me too, me too. Pisces is talking about the case, the something Watts case, Chris Watts or something case from earlier, explaining that it's a controversial case, but there's a theory that the mental abuse the man endured by his wife caused him to do what he is accused of doing, or she may have even killed their children herself. Yeah, people ignore that women can be horrifyingly abusive. I mean, they like almost completely ignore that. I don't know very many people who will acknowledge that there are women who are ridiculously abusive. There's that whole like Johnny Depp and whoever his girl is or was thing, and like whether or not he beat her or she beat him, and a lot of people just don't believe that she beat him because she's a woman and he's a man. And I think that's, I don't know who beat who. Maybe they both beat each other. Maybe neither of them beat anyone. I won't ever know, but I don't think we should discount that she could have been the abuser. Especially like when you get into like actual narcissism or any kind of borderline personality disorder issue, or, you know, these sorts of psychopathy, sociopathy, like it doesn't matter your gender, you're going to be fucked up and you're going to manipulate and harm people deeply. Jack Sith is in the house. What's up, Jack Sith? Will Tyndale is here as well. He says, Will Tyndale says, the future is an H.R. Geiger machine with naked humans embedded in it, but the nudes are obese people from WALL-E. I didn't have to watch WALL-E, but I showed WALL-E for one day when when I was a teacher, I would grade papers or grade tests or whatever for like 2 days in a row because I refused to do it on my own time. And so we'd do movie days or whatever, and they do like literature analysis on the movies, and they wanted to do WALL-E, and they were like, it'll be rad because there's no like talking, and so we have to like infer. And they like made a case for it. I was like, cool, we'll watch WALL-E. And so that was my one time seeing WALL-E, and like, man, this is like a disturbing vision of the future, but it's unfortunately, I mean, honestly, I think people would be lucky if they were that fat and happy floating around in their little floaty chairs out in space or whatever, but that's not what I think is in store for us. Although even that would be disappointing. I think it's actually worse. Jack Sith says, control your private keys. Yeah, I mean, you'd hope, but when Bill Gates owns the patent for the device you would have to use in order to mine this cryptocurrency at all, I don't think you're going to be very much in control of that. Oh, I see what you're saying. If you have crypto outside of this beast thing, then don't leave your crypto on exchanges and control your keys. It's good advice. Don't bounce yet, Serena. We love you. We're all here for some reason. And as disappointing as it might be, there's also just so much poignant, amazing beauty as well. Gordon says biotelemetry implants that carry data have human trialed at least 15 years ago. And Gordon has been involved in many of the ancillary industries around that, so he would know. I thought so. Demi Moore is a creep. Ellen is a creep. Hillary is a creep. All these people are all the supposed leaders and idols, whatever we're supposed to call these famous people. They're all creeps. They're all disgusting. Yeah, dude. Demi Moore making out with a kid. So she was 19, right? He was like, I don't know, I'm guessing like 10, 12 at like the oldest. Like, it's pretty gross. Anyway, Astra Sink says, what did you teach? I taught English and social studies, mostly at the high school level, but also for middle school. I taught private and public schools, mostly public, and I taught internationally and in the United States, mostly in the United States. Bob Dylan's here. What's up? Interesting. Yeah, Alyssa Milano's also a creep. All right, so we could go on forever about who's a creep and who's not, but this is very interesting. Wait. Oh. Okay. I put this whole show together and then I found this tonight, so I just had to show you this because we're talking about emasculation and we're talking about the suppression of the male and the dismissal of the male and just like the villain what's the word I'm looking for? Villainization is not the word, but you know what I mean, of men and masculinity. Anything manly is despicable. We're supposed to look down on it and it's toxic, right? Women could never be toxic, but men are just automatically toxic unless they're acting exactly like we pretend women are supposed to act. Anyways, this is at the beginning of a congressional something opening up, either today or yesterday, I think.
We ask it in the name of the monotheistic God, Brahma, and God known by many names, by many different faiths. A man and a woman.
So I don't know if you're understanding what he's saying because it's so out of place and weird that it's hard to understand. But he's saying at the beginning, we ask whatever he just said, the opening prayer that they do, I guess, in the name of Brahma, which is weird because you're in the United States and we don't have a huge like Indian Hindu population here. We have some, sure, but like, why would you start with Brahma? Very weird, very pandery, very fake. But then he says, and God known by many names, and then something, I forget. It's just this like too pandering and fake to keep up with. And then he says, amen, as in amen. It's the end of the prayer. And a woman. Yes, he said a woman. Let's listen again.
We ask it in the name of the monotheistic God, Brahma, and God known by many names, by many different faiths. Amen. And a woman.
Amen and a woman. Like, you sound like an ignorant fool. Amen doesn't mean anything about men or masculinity. Apparently, it's Hebrew for true, or let it be true, or let it be so. Right? And we all know, if we're like deep enough in like the conspiracy things, that it comes from Amun-Ra, right? And that we're actually like giving homage to that every time we say it. But whatever, either way, no matter, we don't even need to get into that. We just say like amen as a word has nothing to do with men, and yet they still needed to suppress it and get rid of it because it has the word men in it. And they had to say a woman. I don't care if you want to like acknowledge men and women at the end of your prayer, but this seems like the stupidest way to do it and the least appropriate way. And again, Brahma, why Brahma? We've got like this like focus on Hindu gods, which is weird. So we have like Kali and fucking whatever over at CERN, and like here this guy's talking about Brahma, and I'm like, this is just weird. It's just weird. I just don't understand the point. It's so pandery. It's so dumb. And then people's comments are kind of funny. This rhubarby person says, let's try and experiment. If we are to womend our fundamental differences, we should be instruments of change, and document our agreements with the left so as not to slow cultural momentum. It's so dumb. That's exactly as intelligent as this. Like, it doesn't mean anything. It's so stupid. Oh, these may have changed since the last time I looked, I guess, because this is like constantly updating, isn't it? Well, anyway, these were funnier last time I looked, but I liked that Agreement. Let's make an agreement. You're like, you can't even say men anymore unless it's preceded by WO. Right? That's how ridiculous we've gotten about suppressing masculinity. So like it used to be about equality. I think it genuinely did. I think women genuinely had genuine gripes and genuine, concerns and a whatever. And we can like pick apart the feminist movement and how it actually destroyed all of us, but the impetus of normal people involved in it was based on genuine needs, I think. All right, so we can like move past that and say like at this point now it's ridiculous. Like, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, that's how stupid things are. Then I was like, well, let's see what Twitter's saying about emasculation. Well, apparently Twitter can't talk about emasculation because Twitter doesn't know what emasculate means. And maybe a lot of people don't. But I was surprised to see the first like 40 or so posts literally didn't use it even remotely correctly. And that 100% of them, I'm not exaggerating, 100% of them thought that emasculate meant immaculate. I think that's my best guess, because otherwise nothing makes any sense on this is just one of the screenshots I grabbed, but someone's like, the In-N-Out worker who told me to have a beautiful night. Thanks, sis, you too. Emasculate energy she had. I was like, because it took me a minute, because I was like, does he want to be emasculated? And does he think women telling him to have beautiful nights is emasculating? I was like, weird. Is this like a weird trend that like various ways of responding to men are emasculating in really subtle ways I didn't understand? And maybe he does mean that. I can't really know. But I'm pretty sure he meant immaculate energy. Like, thank you. Your energy's so beautiful and perfect. And I'm so glad or something, right? You tell me if you think I'm misunderstanding. I literally had to sit with this for like 10 minutes and just be like, is this what's going on? Or are they trying to use emasculate and apply it to what they're talking about? Because I like creativity. I like if we're going to get like creative with the word emasculate and I'm saying emasculate because I can't say it in any other way and have it make sense in the way they mean it. But emasculate would be the way you would actually say that word. Anyway, this next one, someone's like, I love it when I'm high. I really just be a whole ass vibe, which I think a lot of people could agree with that. The next person says, real shit, the vibe I have is emasculate. And I'm like, does he get high and then feel like less of a man? Probably not. Especially not if he's like, yeah, I'm a whole ass person. I have a whole ass vibe, right? This goes on and on. I just got this one screenshot, but you can go search Twitter, see if it's changed since a few hours ago. So let's look at what masculine and emasculate mean. Wait. This is not the word that I had. But anyways, masculine is good. We'll look at emasculate next. I don't know what happened, but masculine is obviously just to have the appearance or qualities or characteristics associated with men or manliness. Yes, men and women, female and male are two, opposites of a polarity that exists in every aspect of nature. And so talking about them as existing is not negative, and no matter who says it is, they're just insane people who can't handle reality. Are there variations in between masculine and feminine? Of course. Just like every polarity, there's a whole spectrum of things in between it. But those are the two sides of a polarity that exists everywhere in nature and everything that we can think of. And we've gone through that before. If you want to go back to I think it was the denigration of sex, something like that episode of Rogue Ways, we get really deep into masculine and feminine and what they are and what it's all about. So this episode we're sticking more to how like society is specifically just oppressing the masculine lately. But that's masculine, right? And it comes from its own root. Masculus is the root, and it means male. So it's not really undergone a lot of changes over time. Let's see if... Should I just spell that right? Yeah. This is the one I meant to show you. Emasculate means to deprive a man or male of his role or identity. So castration is like the fucking epitome of it, right? Like that's as far as you can go, I think, to emasculate a person is to take away their penis, to emasculate a man. And that was originally how it was used. You emasculate someone. It's a verb, meaning I will take your penis. I'm going to emasculate you. So we use it a lot more metaphorically now. We use it, sort of more poetically to mean anything we can do to a man that would make him feel like less of a man, right? Apparently in botany, it's to remove the anthers from a flower. But also now they're saying it's to make someone or something weaker or less effective. I would love to go back on the Wayback Machine and see when that appeared, or look at, I have actually some dictionaries. Oh, do I have them right here? Shit, I don't. I would pull it out and look because they're from like the 60s or something, and I wonder if that's been there that long, or if it's a newer addition to make it less gendered, you know what I mean? Keep the sort of heart of the meaning, but take away the specificity. So E means to take away or remove or without, and masculus was the root we already saw. So that's the etymology of it. So just in case anyone from Twitter was paying attention just now, maybe you can start using immaculate instead of emasculate, a verb, not an adjective, like immaculate is. So moving past that, it's interesting to notice how COVID specifically has been being marshaled to specifically emasculate. I don't know why, but we'll see many examples of it. So, I mean, I do know why. It's because it's the thing it's the main thing in the zeitgeist right now that's driving all of the energy psychically. And one of their main trajectory, one of their main goals is to completely emasculate. And we'll ask ourselves why throughout this show. Why would the designers of and controllers of our realm be so like set on this? Why would you care so much how men feel and whether or not they feel the traditional sense of masculinity or not? Right? Ask yourself, what would be good if you were looking at a whole population as your enemy and you wanted to control them? Why would you focus on that? It seems pretty obvious. Men, traditionally, and no one's saying this is the only truth, and no one's saying there haven't ever been anything in that gray area in between or whatever, but it is the exception and not the rule, and it is generally the rule that men have been the protectors and the warriors and the ones that go out and get shit done, especially when shit's going wrong. They're the ones that do the hard work and the heavy lifting and the bloody work and the gross work and all the nasty shit and the shit that generally isn't really enjoyed. I think men are programmed to some extent, biologically, evolutionarily, by society, either way, all of the above, to somewhat enjoy that and to be like, man, I'm a man. I did that shit. I got under the car, got greasy and fucked up and muddy and like stubbed my fucking finger or whatever because I changed that goddamn tire and I feel so good. Like, not that a woman can't or won't, but it has not been the tradition. It has been the exception. And it has been the rule in general that men are like that. So we can understand why you would target men and masculinity in general. For the 1000th time, you'll hear me say it 1,000 more. Yes, women can do all of that too, and do, and have throughout history. Traditionally, it's been men and not women. So yes, COVID penis is a thing. Apparently, and I don't even believe this is happening at any higher rate than it would with anything else. But I believe they want you to fear it and feel emasculated if you're a man, because you already are feeling, if you're going along with the trend, like you can't do shit, you're disempowered, you're like already emasculated, you probably lost your job, you can't provide for your family anymore, like, oh my god, you're just not even a man, like, wow, what's going on, you have no control. And now you're being told that you're going to be literally hit in the penis by this thing that you can't control and that there's nothing you can do about it. So then they tell the story of this guy. Who knows if it's real or not, whatever. Again, even if people are having erectile dysfunction after COVID, I have huge doubts that it is anything higher than what the general population experiences, right? There are so many people dealing with erectile dysfunction, and it's all tied in with the same shit. You could tie it all in with the same shit. It all has to do with this not feeling very masculine and being way too immersed in sexuality, in porn, the over-pornification of society, and no real intimacy and no real masculinity that you can attach to in a meaningful way. So yeah, your penis is going to stop working. It's an emotional, spiritual problem. Psycho-spiritual, you might say. So yeah, it's happening to a lot of guys, and it's and there's so many not even quick, just good fixes that are pretty simple and easy that will address those exact issues at their root and get that penis going again. But anyway, it is, I mean, if you buy the thing that COVID is specifically attacking our blood coagulation issues, our circulation issues, and fucking that shit up, then you could see how it would affect, erections. But I don't know. Anyway, like I said, I don't know that this is happening at any higher rate. But at the very least, we know that we're meant to feel like it is and feel really emasculated. Now COVID emasculates too, in more ways than one. This is just one way. We're going to get into some others. But I think there are some people who've jumped into the chat. I just want to say what's up to Biggie Smollett is here. What's up, Biggie? It's always good to see you. Wildcraft Wellness is here. What's up, Wildcraft Wellness? She makes the best tinctures, herbal teas, smudge sticks, so many good things. Super awesome tie-dyes. Music Chick is in the house. Sorry if I'm missing anyone. Will Tyndale said the next MSM article will be COVID can climb up your butt and shoot out your burning eyeballs. For real. That's how it feels like. Idioclub says Cheney. Cheney is such a badass. Cheney and Jonathan are both badasses. I'm just saying. Cheney's pretty rad. Pisces likes Joe Rogan's outlook on masculinity. I don't know what it is, but I bet I might like it too. Yeah, great. Now if my junk doesn't work, I can blame it on COVID. Too much porn and booze, drugs. Yeah, good point. If you're drinking a lot or smoking a lot or doing any sort of drugs a lot, you're also much more likely to have erectile dysfunction. But yeah, it's really sad that people don't understand the mind-soul-body connection sort of as far as their reproductive organs and activities go, because it's intense with the sexual. The sexual is like almost 100% spiritual and emotional, but we just think of it as physical, and we're like very disconnected from it. And that's what that other Rogue Ways episode was all about. Masculine, the feminine, and the psycho-spiritual connection we make in beauty that just so happens to also be physical. Jay Bird's here. What's up, Jay? Love in the Midst is also here. What's up? Nice to see you. Digital Apparition is here. He said, COVID and Russia. I have excuses for any situation. It's seriously so convenient. No matter what happens, we're like, COVID. Russia did it. It was all Russia. Nothing's real. Bob Dylan says, porn is a masturbation aid. I'm not trying to be gross here, just realistic. No, totally. It's just that people masturbate and use porn way too much, and then they can't have sex anymore, and they wonder why. And it's like, well, you kind of fucking wasted it all. No offense. I'm not opposed to masturbation at all, but there is a very direct link between people who watch porn and masturbate a lot and have erectile dysfunction and other intimacy issues. Just saying, there's a reason. There's a reason why. You can also not ejaculate when you masturbate. You can have an orgasm without ejaculating. This is actually a thing that can happen. You can get good at it and do that, and then it's actually less likely to cause you all kinds of issues. So anyway, enough about masturbation for now. This is the next example of COVID-19 being connected with an emasculation narrative. So this man suffers a 4-hour infection. Maybe this isn't emasculating. Maybe this is like, guys are like, fuck yeah, let's get COVID. I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading this, but it just seemed like it's another thing that it's like targeting that specific, sexual side of your body with this thing that you can't control. So that's where I was going with it. Even if some people might really love a 4-hour erection. I don't know. I don't know how many people who would really love it, but I'm guessing someone's going to make that argument. But anyways, like I said, I think the uncontrollable aspect of it and it being associated with this other big thing you can't control that's ruining the entire world is meant to hit you right in that psychospiritual place. Right in the dick. The psychospiritual dick. So yeah, I mean, we can read this for an article, but I don't want to because I don't care. But we can just see that this is what they want people to start being afraid of and bringing into themselves, internalizing this fear and this loss of control. And they're very like the part of you that you want to be, especially as a man, like the most in control of. And so it's sad. It's sad that we're headed this way. And this is, I think, the worse than either of those two things. Because those other two things can be like addressed immediately and in the long term in really effective ways that are not permanent. And yet this, I always think it's just so dangerous to fuck with people's hormones. And they've already been doing that on a fucking worldwide scale with all kinds of chemicals over the years. And we could also talk about how those are emasculating. They're turning the freaking frogs gay, man. It's not a joke. They actually are. But, not gay, but you know what I mean. So, they're saying estrogen can help men survive COVID. I mean, you have a 99.5% chance of surviving, but that's not good enough. Put these fucking sexual hormones from the opposite sex on you and absorb those because I don't fucking know why. Because apparently people are this fucking stupid that they can't look at the numbers and understand the survival rate is retardedly high and just calm the fuck down about it. So they put estrogen patches on themselves. Again, I don't know if this is even real, but this is what they want us to think is happening. So apparently men are more likely than women to die of the coronavirus. I would guess, and I'm probably wrong in many ways, but I would guess there's a lot of causes of death that men are more likely to die from than women. But we don't go shoving fucking estrogen into their bodies over that shit, do we? So scientists are treating men with estrogen patches and female sex hormones in order to help them survive COVID. So we're allowed to just slap fucking hormones on people with no testing and no FDA fucking approval or processes or anything, but we can't use hydroxychloroquine, which has like a retardedly high percentage of helping people avoid hospitalization and death if they have COVID, if it's a real thing. That is fucking insane. It's fucking insane. And this is how you know it's just like moving along with an agenda. There's an agenda that wants women to turn into much, what did I just say? Wants men to turn into much less masculine and or very feminine beings. And giving them estrogen is a fucking great way to do it. It's very effective. So... It's also interesting, China, Italy, and the US are mentioned. They're like the three that are like the main, for whatever reason, like hubs of this. And somebody, I'm sure, would like to point out that those are also the main areas where 5G is rolled out. Saying is coincidentally interesting. So, yeah. It's made doctors wonder, could hormones produced in greater quantities by women be at work? I mean... It could, but you're just going to jump to that and just fucking start treating people, and it's crazy. But I think anyone who goes to a doctor in a hospital at this point is kind of crazy because there is no evidence that that will help you. And there's a lot of evidence that it will harm you. It's insane. It's insane. Everything's insane. See, Serena? This is how we just have to laugh at this shit because it's fucking insane. It doesn't make any sense. I'm sure there's so many people out there right now that are like, this is great. This is cutting edge. This is beautiful. La, la, la. Let's put estrogen on men. I don't even care about thinking. And they'd be really mad at me for questioning it. But I'm questioning it. It's just another aspect of emasculation. We're like, oh, you suck at living. Here, have some woman hormone. It's so fucked up. I don't know why I pulled this article up, so let's see what it's about. This coronavirus study is creating a lot of controversy, apparently. This is from April 29th. Oh, that scientists have been giving cis men with COVID-19 estrogen patches. So it's the same treatment, but I think this is... Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I just flashed that on the screen for you. It's coming back, don't worry. Cis men, specifically cis men. Oh, because cis means you were born as a man. Yeah. Yeah. Weirdly, women who are not sexually men, but are taking on the habits and mannerisms of sexual men are not suffering from this biologically male, fundamentally biologically male thing that's happening. What a surprise. It's almost like reality exists and you could be objective about it. "60% of people who contract the virus and 70% of people who die from it are men." I think there's a lot of reasons why that's probably true, and I don't think any of them have to do with hormones. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. Men be ashamed of being men. Your bodies are just, they're just not as good. You just need some estrogen in order to live up to, you know, what's actually good. Idiots. Like, it's so sad. I just feel so bad for men. You've spent like the past however many years just being like constantly attacked and shamed in the media, and now you're getting like, this is okay, this is fake, by the way. I mean, it might be real. It might be real. Here, let me move my big head so you can see the penis and balls. I saw this and I just assumed it was real because that's how ridiculous our world is right now. But it's not. And if it is, I cannot find the actual source. Somebody supposedly screenshotted this from CNN, but again, I think they just made it up. It's pretty convincing though. Like I said, it's such a fucking clown world we live in that you could believe that doctors would encourage COVID-19 vaccine injections in the penis. Right, they're just saying that for male patients, the penis offers the fastest release of the vaccine throughout the body. And it makes exactly as much sense as putting a fucking estrogen patch on a guy. So why not, right? Why not? But again, I couldn't actually find anything that supported this as reality. So it's a really, really well done, parody of reality. And if anybody can find an actual, oh my gosh. An actual article or anything showing that that is real, I would love to see it. But luckily, we're not that emasculating yet. I just feel like we will be someday. People like, put this in your fucking dick, asshole. Why were you born male, you piece of shit? Like, it's so sad. I'm sorry, men. I'm sorry on behalf of all humans everywhere for all of the men who have been emasculated so consistently over so many decades. This is fucking stupid too. It's so fucking, what? I actually can't read this unless I put my email in. I don't even mind doing that. I just don't necessarily. Here, guys, you're gonna see my big face for a second. So I'm gonna put my email in. Not that anyone here can't get my email. I don't necessarily want like the whole world to just, I don't know. You know what I mean? Oh, God. No. Okay, here we go. I love how whiny we can be in the internet age. I'm like, come on, load faster. 2 seconds isn't fast enough. So if you haven't heard yet, the House has proposed new rules and they want to erase gendered terms such as father, mother, son, and daughter. It's just interesting to me that for some reason gender can't even exist now. Like before it was like, well, gender is a construct and so you can choose your gender and it's very fluid. It's like, okay, fine, like do whatever you want. I'm not going to play your weird game, but I don't care if you play that game. That's fine. But now they're like, no, you can't even have gender. There just aren't men or women. Like, why? Like, really, what's the point of that? They're like, well, not all fathers are men. You're like, what? I mean, if you're adopting the role of male, then you're the parent of an offspring. You're its father, right? That's your argument, you weirdos. Now we can't even do that? I don't get it. So we can't have fathers or mothers or sons or daughters anymore. It's really clear now. Not only are we emasculating men because they're the most likely to fight back and, be proactive and warrior-like, but we're also attacking the family, and we have been doing that for just as long as we've been emasculating men. So you can't have a family, basically, because otherwise there'd be no reason to attack father, mother, son, and daughter, right? Right? You just can't have family. You're not supposed to have family. And we see this in so many ways over the years as the family has been dismantled. But we also especially see it recently where children, the parents of children can no longer have legally granted choices as far as their children's health goes. So especially in the cases of gender identity issues and or vaccine issues, they're really pushing this thing that like the parents no longer have to give consent for procedures to be undertaken. So we see that also as another attack on the family specifically. So the two issues really tie together, interestingly. And I'm all for people having whatever kind of family structure they want. You want like 6 parents and 10 kids or whatever. I don't care. As long as it's safe for the kids and they're not being abused, like do whatever you want. Call yourself a man or a woman. I don't care. Call yourself a father or a mother. I don't care. But why can't we have those words? Right? And what do you just go to parent? You're just parent. I'm parent 1 and this is parent 2. And this is parent 3. Or like, why? Why? Except because you're attacking the actual structure of a family, the traditional structure of a family. Like, well, not everybody has that kind of family. Well, no shit. Not everybody has a hand, but we still say hand. Like, what the fuck? I just don't fucking understand how stupid everybody is. And like, it is actually stupid. Like, you're stupid. You're not intelligent. This is not an intelligent choice. They're like, oh, it's more gender inclusive. How is it not gender inclusive to have a word for father and for mother? That's 2 genders. There's inclusivity for everyone there. Choose one. And if you don't, we have parent. There you go. All genders included. It's not gender exclusive. It's not. See, you laugh or you sigh. And sometimes you cry. It's so stupid. We don't have words for people who are non-binary. Yeah, we do. It's parent. You're a parent. Say it with me now. Parent. You fucking idiots. So you can't say father, mother, son, daughter, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, first cousin. What's wrong with first cousin? What the fuck? That's not even gendered. Nah. Nephew, niece, husband, wife, father-in-law, mother-in-law, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, stepfather, stepmother, stepson, stepdaughter, stepbrother, stepsister, half-brother, half-sister, grandson, granddaughter. Not allowed, you racist. I'm sure it's racist somehow. I'm sure of it. I'm sure if we looked up our gendered pronouns racist, it would say yes. We'll try it. We'll try it when we're done with this article. So instead we'll say parent, child, sibling, parent's sibling, first cousin. Wait, I thought first cousin wasn't allowed. What? Sibling's child, spouse, parent-in-law, child-in-law, sibling-in-law, step-parent, step-child, step-sibling, half-sibling, grandchild. Say it with me, slaves. Like, we are compelling speech so fucking much. We, like, jumped over the entire slope and just like landed at the bottom of it. It wasn't even slippery. It was just a straight fall into madness. Sweeping ethics reforms, including accountability for the American people. We don't have accountability. We have never had accountability in our government. This whole fucking election charade is like no one's accountable for shit. I don't even care what side wins or doesn't win. It doesn't matter, but it's like clearly a shit show. The rules package includes removing floor privileges from former Congress members who have been convicted of crimes related to their House service or election. Okay. I mean, I don't know. Some of that's probably fine. I just think this is so stupid. What were we going to look for? Oh, yeah. Are gendered pronouns racist? Oh, maybe they're not. Maybe we found the one thing that hasn't been accused of being racist. That's amazing, you guys. We just had a first. This is a world first. Spread the news. Gendered pronouns are the only thing that's not racist. So then, shouldn't we keep them? Come on. You don't want to be racist by getting rid of them, right? Something. It's as circularly logical as everything else they say. Let's see what the chat's saying. Pisces asks, what's the best country to move to? Because I can't handle this shit show much longer. Well, that's the big joke that's on all of us, because this is a globalist agenda. So you can run, but you can't hide. We're all in this together. This is what I keep coming back to, too. Like, if we would have cared, you know, a long, long time ago, not that people didn't. I'm sure there's people that cared a lot, actually. But if we would have found a way to stop things a long, long time ago, for example, like China being such an oppressive, horrible, totalitarian country to all of its inhabitants, then perhaps we wouldn't have the China today that's so unstoppably powerful seeming. For example, everything that happens around the world happens to everybody, really. Eventually, it all mixes together. It's like a big shaking snow globe, right? So we really have failed in our ability to see how anything that happens to one little part of the whole affects the whole. And it's true in every sort of principle we can look at, you know. It's all fractals all the way down, as Gordon Hamill says. He's absolutely right. So yeah, I mean, there's probably countries that are like a little bit nicer for now, but I don't know that there's anywhere that you can really hide. What I do think is that you could go out to the most remote area you can find and learn how to be like a mountain man or a mountain woman and like get your, you know, shit together and probably end up living like that for as long as you want. But again, I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm in it in the city to like bring what I can into whatever shit show they continue creating. And, you know, I don't know. We're all going to die someday. I'm not too attached to it. We'll see. Top Hill is in the house, and Top Hill says Pelosi is a walking corpse. Dead people are voting. See the trend? Zombie apocalypse. It's real. There's no brains left to eat, though, Cheney said. It's true. Yes, Regan points out they're making weak, servile, fat, soft men and women. Lacey is connected to birth culture, birthing of babies. And she says they're trying to remove gendered terms such as mother and father as well. That's in mainstream industrial birth anyway, not in the circles that I run in. Dude, why? Why? What? How does that exclude anybody? It's so stupid. They're like, well, a very, very small minority of the population is neither male or female, and so none of us can say mother or father, or be mothers or fathers. I'm like also wondering if it has something to do with natural law. You know how you're like, I'm a living woman, not a person. Like, I wonder if mother and father is similar. Like, you no longer have rights over your children, and maybe that's how they're going to push the vaccine thing and the gender surgery and treatment things, is by removing the legal terms mother and father. Dude, I bet that's a big part of it. It's horrible. And well-meaning people are going to be like, oh, this is nice. Well, I like to be nice. I'll do this. And then they'll have their children taken away and not understand why. It's so awful. Oh, SBCAP, I think, was saying the same thing. It's a communist method of making the state the control of children. Nice. We came to the same conclusion. Cheney said, sometimes you cry to collapse and then you have to host a dinner party and talk about masks. Oh, fun. I'm sure that went really well. Kabar, I don't know if I said hi to you yet, but hello. Cousin is hate speech now, a naked guy says. So Pisces said, I wouldn't be surprised if they outlaw the missionary position because putting a woman on her back is too aggressive. Like, you can actually only now have sex with a woman with a strap off inserting into a male. It has to be that way. I'm sorry. It's the only way that's fair. Yeah, true. Your grandparents have been happy. Kelly Crawford says, both of my grandmas would have busted me in my head if I used grandparent instead of grandma or grandpa. Like, it's just removing so many beautiful human traditions of deep, meaningful connection. It's so sick. Absolutely. Regan says the entire representative system is designed to avoid responsibility. It's not, it's both, right? It's designed for the people who are consenting in it are avoiding responsibility, and the people who are like ruling are taking control. So it's control, but both, right? They go hand in hand. They're two sides of the exact same coin. Mountain person, yeah. Excuse me. I'm sorry that I said mountain man or mountain woman. Men and women don't exist anymore. Only people exist. It's so fucking crazy. If you push a child out of your front hole, then you have earned the title of mother. But we all know that a lot of those ceremonies are trying to push children out of the back hole. That hasn't happened as yet, as far as we know, but... I agree, Cheney. If the torch of freedom goes out on our watch, it never comes back. We stand together now or regret it forever. Cheney's going to DC on the 6th. I'm proud of you, Cheney. All my spirit will be with you. Absolutely. All right, so let's move on. Let's see what else we've got here. Whoops. So, this is more about that stupid bill. It's like them patting on themselves on the back for being like more inclusive and more fair to various gender identities. And you're like, it's not at all. We already had words for that, but whatever. Pat yourself on the back. Here's the actual text of it. I don't want to read it. I don't care. We talked about it enough. Anyway, suddenly I want to go back to how the original emasculation comes right after we're born for most people in our culture and our society here in the West. And that is this horrifying, oh God, I can't even look at that picture on the right. It's horrible. Just the look on his face like makes me want to punch people and fucking fight someone. I don't know how you can not fight someone for cutting your kid's dick off. But that's what we do to most men. Most men are circumcised. And again, literally, when we're literally talking about the word emasculation originally meant to literally remove the penis of a man. So circumcision is literally emasculating, but it's also psychologically traumatizingly emasculating. As you are as helpless as you could ever be, the people who are supposed to care for you the most are pinning you down and without anesthetic cutting off a part of the most sensitive part of your body and the most masculine. So we've talked about it many times before. If you want to go back and watch the Janice Barcelo episode, she goes into deep detail about what that part of your penis is actually for. And there's some amazing correlations and things that sadly have been removed now from any man who's been genitally mutilated, which is most. And we're very used to it. It's very normalized. And so it sounds weird to people when you like talk about not doing it. It sounds weird to people it looks weird to most people. They look at a penis that hasn't been circumcision, an intact penis. And they're like, oh, what is that? Like, it's weird to us. And that's how fucked up we are, is that it's weird to us not to genitally mutilate men. And it is genital mutilation. There's no other way around it. It fits the exact definition of it. And that's what it is. There's all kinds of things that show that it decreases sensitivity and that men who are circumcised have a harder time establishing deep connections of love and intimacy with a woman or another person in general, if you want to go there. And also that like you have a harder time orgasming, if I didn't already say that. So it's very sad. This page, by the way, is fucking gold. Here, we'll go back. I'll show you the homepage and you can see how gold it is. This is like the 90s style of page again, right? Like I was just talking shit about earlier, but like I love those style of pages, and this is why. You just lists of links and citations and just so much rich content we used to have without distraction of like flashing shit and noises and fucking ads and whatever. But I want to show you. So yeah, that's the original emasculation, literally and figuratively. And it's sad. And I just want to throw this site out there really quick. This is whale.to. It is the best. Like the best. I fucking love this site. So I went here to see, what this guy had to say about emasculation, and there's a bit, and so we're going to just touch on a few things that we already touched on some of it. But emasculation, and also, defeminization, both are equally as horrible. Emasculation just seems a lot more, defeminization or whatever has been a sort of trend for a long time as far as we understand history, perhaps, at least. Anyway, there's so much we could get into with that. I'm just going to acknowledge that a lot of women have been oppressed and move on. But in our more modern world, it's like a specific, intentional, projection of the agenda to emasculate men for, like we said, for a very specific reason. But either one, no matter which one you're doing, or both, is going to reduce our ability as human beings with polarities and polarized energy within us and expressing through us biologically to connect in a sacred way. And this is, again, what that previous Rogueways episode about the desecration of sex is what it was called, was more about this. So I just wanted to mention it again briefly, that there's another deeper reason why you would emasculate or defeminize or just oppress the gendered energies of humanity. And that is this, again, deeply spiritual activity. And so some people take that very seriously and make a practice out of it, and tantra just means practice. So when people say tantric anything, they're just saying this is a practice, this is a thing you're doing as a spiritual practice. And yoga is similar. They mean similar things. So just taking sex as a spiritual practice is what it really means. And there's a lot of different ways of doing it. A lot of people resist climax. Or a lot of people, like I said earlier, climax without ejaculation, women and men. Who knew, right? And apparently that's like the height of it. It's like the coolest thing you can do. It really focuses on the intimacy and the love between the two people way, way more than we would ever be used to, or most people could be even comfortable with. We're much more focused on the physical, like where are you touching and what's happening and what order and in what motion, whatever. It's a lot more focused on the slow and the intimate. So it's almost exactly opposite to everything that we have been taught and every image that we see in every sort of aspect of our culture relating to sex that we've ever had. But it's a thing. It's a really powerful thing. As you can see, this is a lot more bulky than his previous page. A lot of his pages are like this instead. But it's, again, there's aspects of this I'm not ever going to be into or support, but I just wanted to mention that it's a thing. There's a reason why our spiritual aspects of sexuality have been almost completely eradicated from humanity all across the world. And again, like we said, porn is actually really bad for people. Again, I'm not against watching porn. I'm not against people making porn. I think it's cool if you want to do that. You want to be involved in it. And you want to play around with it for a while. I think it's really like anything, in that if you're doing it a lot, or it's something you feel compelled to do, it's probably bad for you. And you should probably figure out what is compelling you and heal the thing that is compelling you. You shouldn't really feel compelled, so to speak, to do anything, right? You should be just doing things because you're choosing to in a rational, emotionally healthy way. So if you're doing that with porn, that's cool. Do whatever you want. But there's a lot of connection between porn and rape, and porn and sexual abuse, and porn and child and pedophilia, and porn and erectile dysfunction, and porn and marital distress, and porn and all kinds of shit. I mean, it's really highly studied and pretty hard to dismiss the very possible causation, at the very least extreme correlation of it. So you just have to ask yourself, how much do you need it? Is it good for everyone involved? And is there something else that might be better? I like how he points out the Illuminati tattoo on one random porn actress. That's funny. Anyway, and this person, even on this page, is not talking about, they're not a prude. And as you saw from the previous page, they're very much pro-sex and even what would be considered kinky and weird sex, but they're very anti-porn. And again, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of drug addiction in the porn industry. There's a lot of horrible shit that goes along with it, even when it's legal. So, yeah. Anyway, I just want to mention that as well. It's, I think, contributes to emasculation in a really strange way. Partially because it does lead to erectile dysfunction often, or, like I said, intimacy issues. And so I don't think you can really feel fully masculine and fulfilled with your partner if you're not able to be fully involved in that and present in that and like able to do it, is part of it. And I think another part of it is that we get these really really sick and very twisted and very like unreal ideas of what sex is all about when we watch a lot of porn, and we get very disconnected from the actual act itself. So whether you like having sex with strangers or casually or whatever, it doesn't really matter so much as whether or not you're like able to be present and loving and meaningful in that moment, I think. So rant over. Porn can be good, but whatever. I think that so there's people actually studying this, but this is in 1970. 1970. So, like I said, this has been going on for a long time in a way that seems very directed and intentional, to the point where we've been studying it even for decades. But so this is talking about how patriarchy was being attacked. You know, the patriarchy, we're still doing it. But back then it was a little bit newer to attack the patriarchy, and that how this has created men who have lost value and therefore demoted the male dominance in the family and the society, and that is emasculating. So whether this person agrees with that or wants that or thinks it's a good move for society or not, they're just pointing out that this was emasculating to society at large. And they go through a lot that we're not gonna jump into, but I just wanted to show how long we've been noticing it and studying it. Right. And then this was interesting. I wanted to look at, like, you know, not only have we been seeing all these trends of emasculation over the years, that gets more and more pointed as we go. But like the fashion and the trends and the way men look now is also, the standard for it is very different. So I wanted to just see, you know, a brief image search of men in each decade. And it's like, okay, we're in the 1940s right now. Everybody has like a lapel. Everybody has like a suit or a suit-like sort of top. Many men have hats. All their hair is kind of full and like nicely manicured. No facial hair. There's a lot of cigarettes. You know, some men have a lady on their arm. Yeah, I don't know. Seems pretty traditionally manly. 50s, very similar. Although now we've got a little bit of like slang is not the right word. I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, but you know, trendy sort of like non-traditional men wearing stuff, but it's still like masculine clothing, right? Like Elvis is here not wearing a suit, but he's wearing a jean jacket, being a badass and showing his cock off. It's like seriously like, look at my dick area. I guess a lot of men in their poses are like that, though. The wide leg stance. Then one leg up. That's totally a man thing. There's a lot of ties still, a lot of blazers. 1960s, now we start to get a little bit even more loose, right? Ooh, we've got men in shorts now. Men in shorts, men in just sweaters. Men with totally lots of facial hair. Much longer hair sometimes. Very different styles. A lot looser. It's still not feminine, right, necessarily, but there's a little bit more, if you want to get into it, like the details, there's a little bit more feminine aspects with like a little bit longer hair, kind of form hugging pants, maybe you want to say. I don't know. Things like that. So maybe you could say there's some aspects of femininity, but not a lot. Still pretty manly. 70s, super manly, right? Isn't it like, it's a weird, again, like men have, again, like maybe their hair is sort of like bouffant and stuff, and like maybe like some of their clothing is like a little bit feminine in some ways, like the really like tight like hip hugger, like dick hugger pants, like maybe that was like a sort of feminine thing. I don't know, but like, dude, the sizzle chest and like just like the burly facial hair and like the bulky sort of like, I feel like that was still really masculine, but a lot looser. All kinds of styles, all kinds of fancy pants stuff. Then we get to the 80s, and now we see like a lot more femininity in the masculine world, right? A lot like longer, more manicured hair. We've got like, I don't know where it is on here, but oh yeah, here's, what's his name? I forget. That guy from Saved by the Bell? No. Full House. Uncle Joey. No, Uncle whatever the fuck. I can't remember shit. Anyway, I don't know where like Iggy fucking Pop or Ziggy Stardust. I don't know, all these people who are like very feminine are in this, but you know it's there, right? Oh, here we have some Michael Jackson, kind of feminine. Just a lot more like celebration of the possibly somewhat feminine man, or masculinity being able to be draped in femininity somewhat and still be like attractive and sexual. So that's, you know, again, that's like liberating, right? Some people want to be really feminine. That's cool. But it's just interesting to see this like slow change over time. I love that the 90s didn't even give me very many men and their styles, right? It's just like all comic books. And I'm like, well, we could also talk about the infantilization of people. And I'm sure it goes hand in hand with emasculation. And I'm not talking shit about I love comic books. My loves comic books, and I have no problem with that. But no one can really deny that there's a bit of intentional infantilization going on, in that we are meant to love our childhood things forever and identify with them and never grow out of them. But it's just very interesting. Again, the emasculation, maybe it's even more complete in that we don't even see men in this. The 2000s, suddenly we've just got like fucking, like why? It's just trucks, weird doll heads, cartoons. Like it's just interesting. I don't know. You could take from this whatever you want. Maybe we're getting a bit off track, but I love doing image searches to show like the mass psyche, you know? Because people tag these with whatever they want. So this is just like the most common thing tagged with the words you search for. So that's interesting. I did want to get into, you know, some men's millennial fashion and just point out how there's like really nothing left that is traditionally masculine. It's all just kind of up for grabs. And even in things that are trying to be like, look, men, sexy men, I guess, like most of these outfits here have a lot of feminine aspects to them. You know, the colors, the shapes of the clothing, the cuts of things, this like little bow tie this guy's wearing with his very feminine hat, you know, I don't know. There's just all like I'd say the majority of this is feminized, and some of it's still traditional. We still have that. It's not gone, but there's just so much that is feminine. And I remember when my male students started wearing like pink shirts and stuff, and I was like, fuck yeah, dude, guys can wear pink now. Like that's rad. I'm not against anybody wearing anything. I'm just trying to show this trend that we are perhaps emasculating so much that we might be on the trajectory to lose all masculinity. And especially with younger boys, it just seems like it's even more effeminate. The styles that you're supposed to like this pink tutu. And maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just seeing shit that's not there. It just seems kind of effeminate. It seems like effeminate is like the style. And the body shape, honestly. We're supposed to sort of like, you know, if you look at all sort of our heroes and shit, it's pretty rare. I think Batman's one of the only ones left that has like broad shoulders. Batman and, what's the underwater guy? Aquaman. They had pretty broad shoulders, but a lot of our heroes like Flash and all these people are very like skinny and like almost like formless. They're just like sticks, which is not masculine. There are men. I'm not saying they're not men. I'm saying like our beauty standard is moving way far over to the feminine. But it's funny, right? Because you look at like which of those stars have women like gone insane for, like Jason Momoa. People were like fucking obsessed with him for a while. They probably still are. They're like, oh my god! And I think it's because it's like one of these traditional forms of masculinity that we don't get to really see as much anymore. It's not allowed. It's toxic. And I just wanted to remind everyone of Eddie Izzard, because Eddie Izzard, the manly man who dresses like a woman, and we didn't ever have to be careful about it. Nobody ever had to care that Eddie Izzard wore lipstick and dresses and high heels or painted his nails. We never ever even had to wonder if he wanted us to call him or her, or, you know, whether he was trans or not or whatever. But it didn't matter. He was just a funny motherfucker and we loved him, right? If you don't know who Eddie Izzard is, that's cool. But you go like look at any media that he made or any media about him. And it is never the central thing. Because like everything, it's like, okay, your identity is your identity. Cool. We don't have to give a shit. We take you on your merit of who you are, what you do, and like who you are. And it doesn't matter if you like men or women or both or like whatever. Nobody cares. I don't care. So I like Eddie Izzard a lot. I liked him a lot before I ever had to think about it. And once I had to think about it really hard, I was like, Eddie Izzard's a perfect example of it not fucking mattering what you want to wear or who you want to love or how you want to do it, because you're just a person and we just take you as you are. I do, at least. And I hope other people do too. But I want to point out that also, as many people have pointed out, that men dressing as women, it used to be like I don't know, it's just like a fun thing that happens sometimes. I like that some of my elders have pointed out, like, you know, well, like, yeah, we had like gay and trans people or whatever. We didn't like care to categorize them, and they were just there and it just didn't matter. Just like it didn't matter that we were like straight or female or male or whatever. Like nobody fucking cared. That was kind of my point with Eddie Izzard. But it becomes more and more now like it's like a virtue almost. If you're going to like be a drag queen, or if you're going to just be transgendered, or you're just going to play with gender or whatever, then it's like this thing that everyone should notice and celebrate. We're going to celebrate you. You should be celebrated simply because you wore certain clothes. That seems weird to me. Again, I just don't know why it matters. Like, dress like it or don't. I don't give a fuck. Do whatever you want. Why should I celebrate you? Why should I change my speech because of you? It seems silly. But it's also, again, a trend that's been more and more. Dave Chappelle pointed it out. He is pointing it out specifically for African-American men, but he was like, why do black men always have to dress as a woman at some point in some major role that they have? It's like, it's a good question. Why are we like pushing men dressing as women so hard? Like, why do we care? I don't see why we care. I don't see why we would focus on it, push it, or like worry about it. They do or they don't, and it doesn't fucking matter. That's my take, at least. But yeah, it's interesting how prevalent it is, and how like if you're just a normal guy or whatever, and all of a sudden you start cross-dressing, I swear to God, like if you're in a college or in any sort of like mainstream culture creating center, you will be like adored. And of course, no talk of emasculation or the death of masculinity would be complete without looking at the numbers of dead men from wars. It has been pointed out many times that perhaps one of the many reasons why wars are sought out, besides making tons and tons of money of them and keeping their populations in complete chaos and therefore unable to achieve their highest potentials, is to remove men from the picture. Families without fathers tend to fail, and all of the members of the family tend to do much worse by all measurable metrics. And so having a man in the family who is healthy and present is an amazing benefit to everybody. And removing them by methods of warfare is incredibly effective at destroying society. So we look at these really old wars from the alleged 19th century, for example, and like a lot of people died, but we start getting up to the Civil War was a lot, 2 million. We get to World War I, we got 4 million. World War II is 16 million. And yeah, some of these people are going to be women by, you know, just like ancillary. Not that women are ancillary, just like most people dying in these wars is going to be men. There wasn't a lot of women in the military until much, much more recently. So 16 million people, mostly men, dead. That's a lot of families fucked up. Korean War, 5 million. Vietnam War, almost 9 million. Again, that's 9 million families. You know, the potential of 9 million families just fucked. Just absolutely fucked. And that's just the people who died. Right? Think about how many people like my father who came back from Vietnam and never really came back and just lived a fucking horrible life and then also ruined lives because of that. So, you know, we have those deaths too that aren't counted. Gulf War, 2 million. America's wars total 41 million families fucked. And we look at the intergenerational effects of this and it's way more than 41 million. And you wonder, like, why is society so fucked up? Like, I mean, this might be a lot of it, like, right? So emasculation is a really smart it's a really smart tactic because you destroy so much by destroying men, right? You remove the majority of the potential for a sincere and strong immediate rebellion against tyranny, and you destroy at the root so many families and structures of our community. Even the global war on terror, quote unquote, is 1 million people so far, almost 1.5 million. So I just wanted to throw that out there again for our consideration, to remember there are many, many ways to remove manliness from the picture, and emasculation is just one of many things. Love in the Mid says, hey, I like men in kilts. Hell yeah. The right man in the right kilt can be a beautiful thing. Jeremy points out, I don't believe those death numbers. I definitely don't believe that many died in the Korean or Vietnam. Yeah, I'm with you that history is very questionable, but I also understand that men died and ruined families. I'm sure you do too. We're on the same page. Yes, and Dakatis makes the same point. Good point, guys. Trap a Skunk is in the house. What's up, Trap a Skunk? Oh, thank you. Trap a Skunk pointed out those are the number for the amount of servicemen, not total deaths. So where's their totals then? Non-mortal woundings. No, I think that's they mean anybody in the military, whether they're like active in battle or whether they're in the area or whether they're just like kind of around, but not, I don't know, other deaths or whatever. So that's all of them. But you're pointing out there's other people who died. Yeah, totally. There's people who are not in the military who also died. My mouth shall speak the truth points out it removes a lot of alpha males. Good point, because alpha males are much more likely to want to go fight and die in war. Truth is Alchemy says, I've been cross-dressing for 30 years now. Nice. I always wonder, like, was I a cross-dresser when I dressed very, very, very non-feminine for most of my life? I don't think so. That's my other point about it. I'm like, you should just wear clothes that you like, and if people want to put labels on that, I guess that's their thing. I just don't understand the need to like make it the central part of someone's identity. I love hearing that. Love in the Mid says, my best friend is trans. She just wants to be a person, never deceives anyone, and she can't stand the trans agenda, especially for children. I love that. That's the thing. I think some people hear a show like this or some of my other shows and they think that I'm like anti-gay or anti-trans or anti-cross-dressing or something. And I'm like, yeah, if you actually listen to me, you can't really come away with that perspective. But I do understand that people who can't listen very long think that. But my best friend for many years was gay. I've had trans friends. I have gay and trans friends right now, you know, and they're the same. They're like, they cannot stand the agendas. And I would be offended if I were gay or trans. I'd be like, you're like using my identity for political gain and for political oppression. And that's fucked up. That would offend me. I'd be way more offended by that than someone calling me like he or she, or like, I don't give a fuck if you call me he or she. Do whatever you want. We might not be friends after that, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. William Hochstetler's in the house. Yeah, good point. The Amish are very consistent with gender roles, and they have a pretty good societal results. I know. Okay, so like, I know this wasn't Music Chick's point, but Music Chick says, pre-scamdemic, when I still had a job, I worked with a guy with a mullet and a rat tail. He owned it, loved it, and totally fits his personality. And I'm like, okay, so like, this is how trans shit seems to me. They're like, it'd be the same as if we're like, hey man, there's like 2% of the population that has rat tails and a mullet, or one or the other, and there's all these people who are making fun of it all the time. They had to grow up with people mocking their hairstyle just because it's who they are. And that is fucked up. And we need to like compel their speech and control their behavior because that very small portion of the population, some of them are upset about it. Like, we all have to change because a small portion of us already small community wants to. But again, I don't actually think that that's the reason why. I think it's just to control our population and take out our most reliable opposition and destroy our ability to reach a divine masculine, divine feminine balance anywhere in our lives. I love that we're talking about mullets and rat tails now, or were. So yeah, as always, I'm sorry if I missed some chats. There's a lot going on, and I love you all, and I always want to hear ideas, so I try to get to as many of them as I can. So I liked this. This is a PragerU video. PragerU like instantly triggers like a portion of the population who are too stupid to think. Even when I thought I was very, very much a far left individual, I still had the ability to be like, huh, what's PragerU? And like, even when people are like, he's awful, I was like, well, why? Like, what did he do? Like, he makes videos about things. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, are they like promoting like rape or murder or whatever? Like, no, they're just talking about ideas I don't like. I'm like, oh, what? So then I like have to go look at them because I'm like, how is this bad? And I'm like, oh, he's actually just very intelligent, makes very rational points, and if you can think, then you like it, I think. Anyway, you don't have to agree with someone to enjoy the fact that they're rational and objective, but this is just kind of funny. It's a video called Make Men Masculine Again, and if I play it, I'll get copyright struck. So there's a transcript. I just wanted to look at some of it. Rape, murder, war. They all have one thing in common. Men. Aggression, violence, ambition unchecked by conscience. All the stuff of toxic masculinity, right? And the solution is obvious. Make men less toxic. Make men less masculine. Make men more like women. But they talk about how this is actually not only wrong, it's dangerous. And it's interesting because their point is when you try to make men more like women, you don't get less toxic masculinity, you get more. Why? Because bad men don't become good when they stop being men. They become good when they stop being bad. It's so simple. It's so simple, and yet apparently there's people who don't get it. Aggression, violence, and unbridled ambition can't be eliminated from the male psyche. They can only be harnessed, and when they are harnessed, they're tools for good, not harm. I would argue that's exactly why men are targeted. Is because the fundamental, foundational masculine characteristics and principles are not going to be erased easily. So, therefore, emasculation is the only option. The same masculine traits that bring destruction also defeat tyranny. Oh, look, they made the exact connection that we need. The traits that foster greed also build economies. The traits that drive men to take foolish risks also drive men to take heroic risks. The answer to toxic masculinity isn't less masculinity, it's better masculinity, and we know what that looks like. It's a young man opening a door for a girl on their first date. Some people think that that's sexist and oppressive. I think that's a weird idea, but whatever. It's a father working long hours to provide for his family. Again, many people have a problem with that as well. I do actually have a problem with working long hours. I don't have a problem with a father doing the work. A soldier risking his life to defend his country. It's not that men are too masculine, it's that they're not masculine enough. When men embrace their masculinity in a way that's healthy and productive, they are leaders, warriors, and heroes. When they deny it, they run away from responsibilities, leaving destruction and despair in their wake. We see this destruction everywhere in our society. There are so many families without enough people who are working and productive and taking care of things. And, we always talk about all the problems, and we're like, today I was watching a bunch of things about schools, children failing educationally, and we're always throwing more money at it, more teachers and better trained teachers supposedly, and more resources and all this shit, and it's never working and no one can figure out why. And I'm like, that's because the number one metric of whether or not a child will succeed academically has nothing to do with anything that happens in school. It has to do with what's happening at home. It has to do with whether or not they have enough money and enough security and parents. And that's it. That's the only thing. So throw money at that, maybe. That would increase test scores. We've known this for years. No one can do it. I don't know why. It's stupid. I mean, I do know why. It's intentional. Anyway, having parents, it affects all of our society. Every single aspect of it. All the children, the way they're raised, all of this. So I love this point that they're making. More masculinity is actually better. Healthy masculinity is best. And the devaluation of masculinity won't end well because feminine, passive men don't stop evil. Just so poignant. Ooh, the abolition of man. C.S. Lewis wrote about this. Now I need to read this book. He describes the tension between cerebral man and visceral man. By his intellect, Lewis explains, man is mere spirit, and by his appetite, mere animal. So it's just like everything. We need both combined. This is like the whole goal of every aspect of our life, is to take our opposites and merge them together. Not create a neutral, but create something new with elements of both. The best elements of both. So going back to the intro, rape, murder, and war, they all have two things in common. Bad men who do the raping, murdering, and warring. Weak men who won't stop them. As always, we do want to point out, women also rape, women also murder, and women also participate in war. But in general, throughout history, it has mostly been masculine. So we'll just let it go and remember that there's always a spectrum. So there's another one, PragerU, and it was the war on boys. And this is also interesting to think about. This is another aspect of our emasculation of children, starting with circumcision and then going into the school scene and seeing how boys tend to be punished for being boys. And it really is true. As a teacher, I've seen it over and over and over again. It's the saddest thing ever, because the very normal, I mean, it's true of girls too in different ways, but the very normal urges of children are completely ignored and oppressed in order to create the little slaves that we want. So yeah, they're pointing out that boys are much more likely to be disorganized, restless, and noisy and hard to manage. And so they get punished for that. And schools have no patience for it. I guess they have some solutions like getting boys to read more, getting male imagination somehow involved, zero out, zero tolerance. Oh, this is the thing that's against expelling kids, and I could do a whole show on that, and I'm not going to get into it right now. Bringing back recess is one thing I think we can all agree on. But it is interesting to think about how we also punish boys for being boys at the very foundational levels of our educational system as well. And it's true. So, as always, I think the best thing we can always do, like we were just talking about, is find the balance or the union of opposites in the best way possible. And remember that, you know, there is feminine and there is masculine. I had this thing on Twitter. Somebody posted this image and it was like, see, like divine masculine can look like this or like this. And one was this very effeminate male. It was all cartoonish and sort of almost anime, but it was this very, very, very effeminate male with a sword. He didn't look very threatening. He was just holding a sword. He actually looked like he was about to maybe make sweet love to it or something. It was very effeminate. And then an even more effeminate anime sort of male holding a flower. And I was like, I get the point, like it's that men can be both, outwardly like effective and directive and like appreciative of beauty or something. Like, I get it. There's masculine and feminine in both the feminine and the masculine. But I was like, the point really of the image is just to say there is masculine and there is feminine. The end, right? So these two things exist in all of nature. In every way we could possibly think about it, feminine and masculine exists. Go back to the Rogue Ways desecration of sex episode if you want to get deeper into those qualities. But overall, we can just accept that those two things exist in nature. Every single level, every single way we could possibly look at it, they exist. So feminine energy can be positive and natural and flowing, and masculine energy can be positive and natural and constructive and all of this. And that can also be toxic as fuck. You can have toxically masculine energy. You could also have toxically feminine energy. And it seems so simple and so obvious, and yet somehow We only talk about toxic masculinity, and you almost never hear anyone talk about toxic femininity. In fact, people are wont to say things like, all we gotta do is get women in power and the whole world will be at peace. And I'm like, I have never seen a single shred of evidence in my personal life, in my lived experience, or any sort of studies, or anything in any aspect of my reality that would lead me to believe that women in power would make peace. Zero things have ever seemed to indicate that, except people saying it. People love to say it. I don't know about you, but I grew up as a girl with other girls, and we are horrifying to each other. I think most women understand and agree with me. Men will just walk up and punch each other in the face, and then they can like hug. Women will like slowly and methodically destroy the psyche of another woman until there's nothing left. And we'll hold that for years. And that is toxic femininity. We're horrible to each other sometimes, and to men, and to anybody, because we have this ability to be just as toxic as men. So anytime someone says toxic masculinity, in my head, I'm like waiting to see if they also understand if there's toxic femininity too. And every time someone says, all we need is women in power, I'm like, you have not thought things through. Well, I don't care if a woman's in power or not, but expecting that to bring peace seems ridiculous. Music Chick, Unintended Consequences. Have you checked out the Great Baldini's channel yet? Yes, the Great Baldini has been on the show at least twice, if not 3 or 4 times. And I have checked out his channel. He's a beautiful human. So, feminine energy is receptive, passive, contractive, intuitive, and inward. And this is why you can say that there's feminine aspects in all of nature, and that they are distinct from and opposite of masculine aspects. We could change the words. We could call feminine like gravy and masculine like heart. It doesn't matter the words you use. The things, or the qualities, they're still the same, right? You call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. The word doesn't matter. But you just acknowledge those things exist, and they're separate and opposite categories along the same spectrum. They're polarities. The natural feminine is unconditional love, understanding, nurturing, tenderness, kindness, intuitive, creative, feeling, stillness, flow, radiance, surrender, sensitivity, emotional ease, allowing. All those things are more feminine. They connect with these initial qualities we listed. Masculine is projective, active, giving, expansive, and outward, right? Just like you would imagine. It's our genitalia show it, right? The penis is projective, active, giving, expansive, and outward. The vagina is receptive, passive, contractive, intuitive, and inward, right? It's just like, it's kind of natural. How funny that nature has qualities. The natural masculine is confident, inner strength, responsibility, focus, logical support, stability, direction, protection, clarity, boundaries, courage, discipline, capable, certain, and assertive. In case you were still confused, women can have masculine qualities and men can have feminine qualities. And that doesn't make them less masculine or less feminine. That's just how life is. Okay. I just always have to say shit like that for the idiots who might be watching this. And then there's the wounded or the toxically feminine, which is to be a victim, powerless, weak, manipulative, withholding, needy, codependent, oversensitive, and over-emotional. And there's the wounded or toxic masculine, which is to be a perpetrator, abuse power, or be dominant, aggressive, controlling, competitive, confrontational, critical, abusive, avoidant, unsupportive, or unstable. So I just wanted to end on this reminder that, there is masculine, there is feminine. They are opposites of a polarity. We do all have qualities of both within us. I've never met a human who didn't have some qualities from both of those columns, right? But overall, we see the tendencies over all of history, especially pre-chemical onslaught, that women have a lot of pretty specific qualities, and there's rare exceptions to that, and then men have a pretty specific set of qualities, and there's rare exceptions to that. And it is pretty rare actually to be in this like gray area very far. You can get like little steps in, but like especially being in like the middle would be like pretty rare, right? Sexually, emotionally, character wise, all of it. And there's all sorts of aspects to that, right? Like, is that, like a lot of people argue, like 100% social construct? I don't think so. There's a lot of biology going on here, right? My biology is completely different from a man's, and that's going to produce certain characteristics as well. So there's some of it that's going to be social, of course. Of course, that's true. We're definitely nurture and nature are both aspects of us, right? They both help create who we are. So it makes sense to me that, yes, societal conditioning would play a role. But if you took, if you could somehow take people and remove that, well, they wouldn't function. They would not even be people. They'd be like feral, wordless, thoughtless lumps of mass of biological matter. But if you could, I have the idea, I have the experience as well to back it up, that there actually are trends that just come out of being a male or a female. For example, I have a bunch of nephews that were all born at once. My best friend, my brother, my sister all had a boy at the same time. And 100% of them love loud noises and trucks and like dogs and like being dirty. And they're infants. In their infancy, they started loving these things. So people will argue like, oh, well, they were taught that by people like treating them a certain way. I'm like, everyone in our family and friend group is very like neutral. Like, here's some yellow clothes because I don't know what you're going to want for your kid. And like, I won't just walk up to a boy and be like, you're so strong and brave. Like, they think these types of things are the things that create that behavior. And I'm like, it seemed so obvious to me that these infants who had not yet had access to TV or much of society or people who seem to be more gendered in the way they treat kids, none of that happened to them, and they all love trucks, loud noises, dirt, and dogs. And then like I look at little baby girls, they don't. Maybe some of them do, but in general, like the trend is there. So I have this strong experience of, and the strong understanding that it is most likely actually a product of what we are. A lot of that shit, and a lot of it comes programmed through social construct as well. So anyway, all of that to say, it sucks if you're a man right now. It sucks especially if you're a white man right now. It doesn't suck amongst normal people. I like most people who I know, even if they're pretty mainstream, like normies, they're not walking around like hating men or like really believing that like all masculinity is evil or whatever, and like same with the racism thing. Like there's not a lot of black people I know who are like, holy shit, things are racist. They're just like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's been some racism and there's been a lot of not racism. Like, just like the mullet thing. There's like some teasing that goes along with anything that's true about us. Like, that's humanity. But like normal people don't seem especially obsessed or caught up with this, but it's really, really heightened in our social spheres, especially via social media and all kinds of media. And our zeitgeist, again, is being programmed for this. And we have a lot of history of attacks on masculinity to back it up. Like it's been generational for a while that masculinity has been being attacked and eroded and degraded. Eroded. Just put those two things together. And so it's, I think, probably pretty hard to develop a masculine identity that is built on like a, fundamental foundation of self-worth. I think it's pretty difficult. So I feel very sad for men. On the other hand, I was raised with the like, you're a woman and women are fucking righteous and we could do anything. Like, go women. And like, the whole campaign to like be bossy and like all this shit my whole life. So have I experienced like defeminization or like feminine oppression? Yeah, I have. And overwhelmingly, I've experienced the opposite of like just specific female empowerment and just joy and celebration at my womanhood. And I look at all the men I know and it's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. They have had almost no positive male role models. They have had almost zero media representation of non-toxic masculinity and strong let's just say like positive strong masculinity, because it's either like toxic masculinity or it's just like ineffectual effeminate losers, right? So we have very few that are just like a strong, well-rounded, positive masculine role model. So that's really sad. And their penises were all cut off. They've been fucked since birth and they continue to be fucked, and their epigenetics are all fucked too. They're all fucked up. So, I mean, fuck, like we have to start somewhere. And a lot of people gladly or happily in my life have not circumcised their sons. It makes me very, very happy. And a lot still do. And that's to be expected. But it's nice to see some sort of an awareness shifting to like, maybe I don't want to cut my baby's penis apart. Just maybe not, because the other thing is, like, you can have that surgery with anesthetic anytime later in life. If you get to, like, teenager, adulthood, and you're like, I really want to cut my penis up, you can go do that with anesthetics, and then that's an elective surgery you can do, and then there's, like, a lot easier recovery, I think, than being an infant without anesthetic that cannot express any sort of desires or anything. So anyways, that's hopeful to see less people doing it. And I do see this talk and this awareness of a need to build up the positive masculine as a somewhat growing trend, at least. I think whatever you think of Jordan Peterson, like, I'm sure there's a lot of criticisms, whatever. But overall, like, what he's done for young men and their appreciation of their own masculinity is pretty amazing and very laudable and super good. I love him just for that. I'm like, what a great men needed that. Obviously, so many men responded to that and were like, oh, my whole life and I love you so much and I make my bed now. Like, it's just really great to see. So more of that, like, that's coming up and around, and that's really cool to see too. So there's just a lot. There's a lot actually to be hopeful for. We just also want to be really aware that it's not cool to trash masculinity. There's a really, really powerful reason for doing so. There's a powerful motivation, and it is not in any human's best interest, even an oppressed female who, has a vengeance towards men. It's still not in their interest either. They just might not know it. But I want to check in with the chat one more time. Holy shit, you guys. I never know. I'm always like, this will be like 35 minutes, and it's always like 2 hours. Pisces points out, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. That didn't make itself up. Absolutely true. Women are like, I will slowly torture you for the rest of your life. Like, damn. That is some toxic femininity. Yeah, right? Like, good point, Trappist Skunk says. Catherine the Great loved massacres. Like, and we're like, oh, if only women were rulers. We're like, dude, queens were awful too. And the fucking czars and shit. Women are not more peaceful. I don't understand why people are so stupid right now. It's not like, I don't know what people think the word stupid means, but I mean, they seem incapable of understanding how to find evidence to support their ideas, or just evaluating their ideas based on whether or not it correlates with reality, or like just any kind of logic. Like, that's what I mean when I say people are stupid. They're choosing not to think. Yeah, Hillary Clinton fucking eats children, and we're supposed to think women are better. It's crazy. Yeah, dude, Nancy Pelosi just got voted in as Speaker of the House. Blah. Hi, Chris, by the way. Good point. Jeremy Harbin points out, all we truly need is loving people in power, and we can achieve peace no matter their sex. What a concept! Jeremy for president. It's so silly that no one can understand that. I mean, you guys all understand it. There's just a lot of dummies that don't think, that can't understand things. Like, women are great and men are great. I love women. I love masculinity. I love femininity. I don't have a problem with either. I have a problem with people who are unhealthy or toxic, if you want to use that terminology, or just harm others, or can't take care of themselves, or refuse to take care of themselves so that they end up spewing all their trash all over everybody else and making the world a shitty place. I have a problem with that no matter what your gender is, no matter if you're trans or not, no matter if you just like to cross-dress, no matter who you have sex with or don't have sex with. Don't care. None of that matters to me. It matters to me, like, how you actually treat yourself and other people. That's all that's ever going to matter to me. Lindsay Smith said, I described her 3-year-old boy very well. I really do. I don't think that it's all just conditioning. I think that it's absolutely something about our natures. Imagine us having nature. Whoa. Pisces says, it seems like people in general are so out of touch with the balance of our true nature, and that's why the world is so lost. You can't even talk about things like grounding and balance and the middle way. Yeah, good point. Hashtag middle way. Yeah. Trapaskunk says, being a white male in academia sucked. Even if your family survived genocide, it wasn't the same. It's totally true. Like the Armenians, nobody cares. Like, why? I don't know. It's just not trendy to talk about racism or slavery or oppression of races that weren't specifically African slaves brought to the United States. That's the only one we're going to talk about right now. I made this post once. I literally lost like 5 friends, like Facebook friends, but actual people I knew in real life who I swear to God, the next time I see them in public are going to forget that they like trash talked me over something so stupid. But I was just making the point, like literally every category of people I can think of has been enslaved, either specifically and knowably in history, factually, or, and or by the system in general. I don't know anyone who hasn't come from a line of slaves. I'm not joking. If you think about it, you go back in history to wherever various areas and regions, every peoples has been enslaved in some way. Okay, the vast majority of them. Maybe Ashkenazis, just maybe not. If you don't know what I mean, then you don't know what I mean. But most people, in some way. And Regan says, I've come to expect a 2-hour show. It does usually end up being about 2 hours. It's not intentional. I never have a time goal. Nasty Pelosi. Yeah, talk about fucking toxic as fuck. Oh, I love all the love in the chat. Just people are like, you guys are awesome. We literally have the best community I've ever seen online. And that's why you should all go to rogue.locals.com and just be more a part of that community. It's great. Community is something almost all of us are lacking and that many of us need a lot more of. So I love that we get to create that together. And as always, I'm so grateful that all of you are here. I love that you're here and that you are you. I'm grateful for that. So thank you for being here and for being you. And, until you can master the divine feminine and the divine masculine within you and express those in a healthy manner that is non-toxic, and maybe even find another person to also unite those energies with in a very balanced way that will heal all of yourself and all of the world. It's like a community service you're doing when you do this work, and it is work to heal yourself and to be in union with another soul at that level of intimacy. That is beautiful work. That is very good Tantra yoga practice to undertake. And so until you can do all of those things and recognize the divine masculine and the divine feminine in others, but especially right now the divine masculine in as many men as you can, and really honor their masculinity and remind them that it's a beautiful thing, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
It's a one-on-one lesson, so do your homework. Make your dome hurt while up on earth. My bones are blessed from holy dirt. Vibes manifested to words that told me search for verbs and adjectives to describe birth. Worth more than one can speak, while the tongue feeds a weak, a sour taste in your mouth, bittersweet. Words can also kill you when you sleep. Mind condition, low frequencies while the subconscious mind listens. I can tell a vision filled with lies, disguised as truth, and spread it like the word to the youth. Watch the tube. A place where the God gets booed is sorcery. To recreate a God forgery does more than meet that meets the eye. Not too many know. Just hear me flow like the eye of Horus Pinio. Yeah, not ready to leave until we believe we're free to go. You hear me, yo?
Scope sculpted from the ether. The material will eat ya. Stuck on this plane, lanes use jet fuel to greet ya. The dimensional 3 ain't beating me on top of the 4th. Didn't climb Jacob's ladder to squab with a sword. Forged with ink drizzle, branch down. Try quiet your lamps now. Ascension past the matter that they slam out they damn mouths. We ain't on land now, but they over in a stand. Sacrificing wisdom, hoarding dumber, kosher, wicked hands. Putting faith in worthless worship of the mortals. Artificial portals, mass ingestion of the black goo. Bioengineered morsels, conversing with machine elves. Bypassing maggots, they stuck on Android screens now. I'm scrolling emerald tablets. Moloch living lavish, off the backs of the savage. Them clasp hands at the Sabbath. Smack of energy damage, they done twisted the tongues. With nanotech in the lungs, the awakening's begun. All they really can do is fucking run.